public or private, growing or established. Year-end can be a pretty stressful time of year, no matter the size of the organization. Sage Intacct really has an abundance of features and functionality to help streamline, organize, and ultimately help speed up a lot of those processes to make that time of year just a little bit less stressful. One of those areas Intacct helps to streamline is approvals. Whether we're talking about things like time and expense approvals, or maybe department or project manager approvals for AP and purchasing invoices, if we're doing these things manually or external to the system, this can not only slow down our close, but can also inhibit our visibility into what's out there. With things like AP and purchasing documents, if we have things floating around in people's emails or paper folders, we can miss large accruals, leading to understatement of job costs and liabilities. With Intacct, we take all that and digitize and formalize the process. We have approvals all throughout the system: vendor approvals, time and expense approvals, purchasing approvals, and more, all driven by approval policies and rules to automatically route those required approvals. Depending on the application, we have quite a few routing policies available to us, including multi-step approvals that can be built out based on organization, department, or workflow needs. In the case of purchasing, each individual workflow step could have its own totally unique approval policy. Once we get those policies in place, we can give both approvers as well as our financial teams visibility into what's outstanding for approval, with approvals included as dashboard elements, for example, as well as send notifications out to approvers alerting to the fact that we have approvals outstanding. This all leads to better visibility on a daily basis, but also that more streamlined close where we're not having to add chasing down approvals to our period end close checklist. Year-end financial audit can definitely add work and stress to what's already a busy time. Auditors, as part of their testing and audit processes, require access to a wide range of our financial data to validate our year-end balances and reporting. Oftentimes, I really don't know what they're going to need to validate those financials until we get those requests in. On top of that, as part of their regular testing, auditors are typically required to detail test hundreds, if not thousands, of transactions, depending on the audit area. This means hours of your staff's time spent pulling supporting files and backup and pulling together reconciliations to support those transactions. With Intacct, we can, based on internal policy, of course, actually give our external auditors read-only access to the system. To do this, it's actually pretty easy. So we can actually set up just a read-only auditor role by simply coming in and creating a new role, and then designating read-only privileges across the applications that we want them to have access to. With this, our auditors can now come in, pull reports for their testing selections and analysis, pull supporting attachments and backup, and ultimately answer many of their own questions, preventing your staff from spending that valuable time pulled away from their day-to-day tasks. Who knows? Maybe you can even negotiate a lower audit fee. One of those features often overlooked is actually checklists within Intacct. All organizations have both financial and non-financial processes that they, have to perform periodically and keep track of. But if we're thinking about things as routine as closing our books at period end, sometimes we need a little extra help. And so with these processes and so many moving parts, a lot of times there's some complexities that we need to keep track of. And they often involve sharing lists and spreadsheets with colleagues and communication on status, both of which are hard to have visibility into when we're doing those things external to the system. And so Sage has provided some pretty helpful features and functionality in the form of checklists to keep those processes running smoothly and to maximize visibility at the same time. And so with Sage Intacct Checklists, we can do things like assign tasks. We can clearly see responsibilities and understand the progress of your own as well as colleagues or coworkers' tasks. Our checklists within Intacct are housed within the company application. We can see we have a December month-end close checklist here. As we come into the screen, we can see things like our header information, such as the checklist status and category, allowing us to keep our checklist organized. But let's jump in and look at our assignment section. So as we come down the rows, we can see we have a number of typical period end closing items. With our assignee column, we can designate our employee or user that will be in charge of any given assignment. When we assign a user, that employee will also receive an email notifying that they have been assigned, as well as a hyperlink to the assignment details. Now, if we come to the left, you'll notice we have these assignments hyperlinked. If we click on any one of these assignments, it'll bring us into the assignment information and details. We can see within the header section, we can easily update our status, percent complete, and even attach files, maybe a supporting reconciliation, for example, if we're talking about audit requests. Below, we'll see both constraints on this assignment as well as constraints based on this assignment. This will control the order in which assignments can be completed. Finally, as we move to the bottom, we have something called our Collaborate feed. I'll talk about this in another video, but with our Collaborate feed, users can tag other users in the system and collaborate on their assignments. Now, this was just a simple month-end close checklist, but imagine audit time when we have 30 different open items from our auditors. We're trying to keep those things organized. Where are we going to attach that support that we're going to upload to the auditors? Have there been questions and back and forth? Do we need some internal discussion surrounding what this support needs to look like? Well, all that can be housed here at this checklist to streamline that process and keep us all on the same page. So Collaborate is one of these features as well. So Collaborate is an internal social media style platform built right into Sage Intacct. It allows team members to communicate, share context, and track conversations directly within the system, right where the financial data lives. And so this feature is especially powerful during period end close when multiple departments and stakeholders need to work together seamlessly to finalize our books. During period end close, there's always numerous tasks that require team input, whether it's reconciling accounts, reviewing transactions, or maybe resolving discrepancies. Collaborate eliminates the needs for lengthy email threads, and with that reduces delays as a result of all the external back and forth. And then with Collaborate, we can also have discussions directly within the transactions or records, and all of these communications live at those records for as long as those records exist. So we can go back and jog our memories a year later if we need to. Now, for existing customers that may not have seen or heard this feature, it does have to be activated within the subscriptions, but we'll quickly walk through how we can use this. So I can access Collaborate anywhere within the system up here at the top right of any screen that we're working on. And you can immediately start conversations as well as jump into our Collaborate Center to keep track of some of that back and forth. Now, say we were reviewing a journal entry or transaction somewhere in the system. I'll just jump into a bill really quickly. Come down to the bottom and I can tag another user. So if I do bet Brandon, see, I can pull him in and send him a message. So what happens when I do send Brandon a message is he will receive an alert within the system up here in this little text bubble up the top right. He will also receive an email with a hyperlink that will bring him directly to this record. And so Brandon's not having to figure out where it is that this question originated from. He can be brought straight here. He can respond. He can upload support. And this is all throughout the system on the majority of records. And so maybe it's customer collection notes, maybe it's back and forth on those year-end close checklists, but we can house that all within the system and have visibility into it into the future.